Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G. John Galindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday, only here on Top Shelf Oldies. Want to welcome you to the March 7th, 2020 Vinyl Treasure Show on this nice day here, a little bit brisk, but a nice day here in New York City. Glad you can join me for the next 2 hours for cool 1950s and early 60s 45s out of my collection. We opened up, this is actually the second 50s show in a row that I opened up with West Coast sax man Joe Houston 2 weeks ago. We opened up on the Combo label with one of his tunes. This one's an early side on the Imperial label, his second of 5 on Imperial. The song he wrote, it's called Bobby Sox Ramble from July 1952. Mr. Joe Houston there, tenor sax man, Bobby Sox Ramble on the Blue Imperial label. And as enough of my babbling here, let's open up. Got some cool requests, flip sides, and some rarities for tonight's show. So let's open up the vocal portion with a song about the hits of the day, and the day being sometime in 1958 or earlier. Now, Billy Dawn Smith and Luther Dixon, they came up with this song, used titles of other hit songs or songs from that were out on the charts, maybe around 1958 or earlier. And we're going to open up tonight with a song with the title of the song is called Follow the Rock, as done by this Brooklyn, New York group. They are called the Bebops. It features Danny Zipfel on lead. Let's go back to March of 58. These are the Bebops on choral. The opener is called Follow the Rock.
Come back in the alley with long, tall Sally. Take her up on a mountain to a southern valley. Roll over Beethoven till your face turn blue. Take a hand with Speedo with the blue suede shoes. Make a miles on the ride of Maybelline. That's how you follow the rock. Ride around the clock on a dog hound. Take a flat top head and sit around. Make a band of gold from a hollow stone. Get stranded in the jungle rider. So home. Find out why fools fall in love. That's how you follow the rock. And go 1,000 miles away to Blueberry Hill. Do a rock and roll waltz on the windowsill. Ask why, baby, why dolls all to go. It's gonna bring you luck. Yeah. Make a pledge of love to a money doll. Find 99 ways to make it all call. Get a teenage crush on Mary Ann. Now don't be cruel. Best you can. Rock around it, baby, never, never stop. That's how you follow the rock. Jump back, baby, jump back, baby, jump back, baby, jump back, baby, whoa, that's how you follow the
Yeah, we open up the vocal portion there with the Bebops. The Bebops from March 1958. It's called Follow the Rock. Came out on the Choral record label. Danny Zipfel, he's on lead. That was their debut single for the Bebops, the first of 2 on Choral. Now, Bob asks if it is a flip of Joni. Let me see. I don't think it is. The flip side on this is, actually, yes, it is. It is the flip side of Joni. Sorry about that, Bob. But that's our opener here. We got another, we're gonna continue here. Now we stay in the year 1958 for another song I first heard on the Gus Gossard show. Now, all his shows were mainly programmed by Wayne Sterling and Stan Krause. They brought him the records. He played the records. He knew nothing about them. He just said, hey, these sound good. Let me play these records. And this is one of the records records he played. Now, some listeners, like our manager of Top Shelf Oldies, Hi-Fi Tim, thinks that this is a dirty lyric tune, and it is not. It is not. That's Tim being in the gutter, but their minds are in the gutter all the time there. But anyway, this is no dirty lyrics to this song, and the one thing about this tune is that Jimmy Jones co-wrote this tune with Bobby Moore, but it features Butchie Saunders on lead. It's on Al Tate's Good label. This one charted number 34 on WINS in New York City, and I'm featuring it on the true original because this record, it's hard to detect the originals because they used the original stampers to press this one up. I don't know what year it was, but they almost look original, and the paper too. But this is whoever owned this record, somebody by the name of Danny owned this. I found it in a collection. So this is an original. And enough of my babbling. Let's go to March of 58. The L chords here on the Good label. It's called Peppermint Stick.
Geez, dandy, have some candy. Boom-be-doo-be-doo. Dandy, have some candy. Boom, 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 boom. Dandy, have some candy. Dandy, have some candy. Boom-be-doo-doo.
Kitty leads here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the L chords. Butchie Saunders on lead. March 1958. It's on the Good label. Peppermint Stick is the name of the tune. And Robert Hunter in our YouTube chat room points out in 1961, probably with Times Square Records, had a lot to do with pushing that record again with the represses on it. But they used original stampers the first go-round in 61, so you can't tell. I think I got mine from Disco Disc for 75 cents, and it looks real, but this is definitely plays kind of the VG-ish copy there, plays okay. But anyway, enough of my babbling here. Let's continue as we count down the music chronologically here on the 50s and early 60s edition. Have a number of flip sides from the last 50s show. Now, here's our first on Bess Berman's Apollo label. I played the Five Royales out of North Carolina, their fifth release on Apollo. It was called Laundromat Blues. So let's flip that 45 over before it goes back down. In the No Humidity basement, it features Johnny Tanner on lead. This one from July 1953, the Five Royales on Apollo. It's called Too Much Love in parentheses, Much Too Much.
Baby, baby, please stay with me. Do a little something for me. The girls have drove me crazy. I didn't have a sense to let them be. Now I'm sad. Too much love is true. Too much love. So mad. Too much love. So blue. Too much love. Nothing I can do. Too much love. I am just about through. Too much love. Tell me what is wrong with me. About got me down, me down.
From July 1953, the Five Royales, and New Jersey Bob in the Top Shelf Oldies chart says that was a big number 4 R&B tune for the Five Royales on the Apollo label. Too Much Lovin', Much Too Much is the name of that one, with Johnny Tanner on lead with Charlie Little Jazz Ferguson and his orchestra. As we move on here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, we move into 1954 with a request for George Tompkins, who wants me to send this next tune out to listener Jim Barrow. It's on the Hickory label. Hickory Records, not known for vocal group harmony. Most releases are either country western or pop, but later on in the history of the Hickory label, they had some pretty cool tunes later in the 1960s. But this is an early side from August 1954. The group is out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I believe they have 3 releases on the Hickory label. This is their second, written by their lead singer. His name is Jim Sweeney. So by request for George Tompkins, going out to Jim from August 54. They're called the Varieteers. The Varieteers on the Hickory label. It's called I Pay With Every Breath.
Here am I, so sad and lonely. Fool was I to seal my fate. She trusted me and I deceived her. Now I pay with every breath I take. I played around with fate, but now I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but what good does it do? I broke her heart in two. I brought her sorrow, but I never thought she'd find somebody new. Oh, but now I know how much I love her. Now I care, but it's too late. She's gone, and now the tears are falling. I must pay with every breath I take.
That's a record you don't hear every day. Those are the Varieteers. Varieteers from August 1954. Jim Sweeney on lead, requested by George Tompkins. Send that one out to Jim Barrow. I Pay With Every Breath is the name of that one on the Hickory record label. Now, Sweeney had some solo releases. I know I have one by him on the Date label. I think I have a couple others on Columbia, and I don't know if he has any others, but he may. But anyway, Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we move on here. Now, 2 weeks ago, young Evan Blatt requested the 5 Chances on the Blue Lake label, a classic song, All I Want was the name of the tune. Let's flip that 45 over. Written by group member Johnny Chubby Jones. He might be doing lead. I think he's doing lead on this side here. It's with Al Smith and his orchestra. As we go back to August 1955, these are the 5 Chances on the Blue Lake label. Not an easy record to find on 45 with their tune called Shake a Link.
All you guys and all you gals that can charm very well with just a square. Mom and Hank, it don't do the charm, cause Shank-a-Lank say you're just as square as Mom and Hank. If you don't do the charm, cause Shank-a-Lank. Cat Jack and Horner stashed on the corner, mellowing down real cool. A broad fast by gives him the eye. What else can he do? A broad fast by gave him the eye. What else could he do? One and one is two. The 2 and 2 is 4. If you shake a leg one time, you'll want to shake a leg some more. Shake, shake, shake a leg. Shake, shake, shake a leg. Shake, shake a leg. Shake, shake a leg. Shake, shake, shake a leg. Shake, 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 shake a leg. Shake a leg, shake a leg, shake a leg, shake a leg. Mary had a little lamb.
Yeah, those are the 5 chances. 5 chances. August 1955. Shake a Link is the name of that one on the Blue Lake record label. Not an easy record to find. Gotta say hi to Matthew Leach listening, Donald McGee, Geronimo Sinez, all tuned in to the Vinyl Treasure Show. Let me know on Facebook there. Got a whole bunch of people in the YouTube chat room and the Top Shelf Oldies chat room. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here as we continue. We stay in the year 1955. It's a request for young Evan Blatt listening in Pennsylvania. This group formed by ex-Hollywood Flames member Gaynell Hodge, and this group included Delmar Wilburn, first tenor, Jody Jefferson, second tenor, and Gaynell's brother Alex Ho. Did I write that right? He was the baritone and the bass. Now it's on John Dolphin's Money record label. Gaynell Hodge is on leave, going out to Evan from February 1955. They're called the Turks. The Turks on the Money label. It's called Emily.
So happy and gay, but she wouldn't give me a chance. From the first day that I met her, I have not been able to forget her. I place no one above her. That is why I love her. I promise to love and obey, but that was a silly romance. My heart was so happy and gay, but she wouldn't give me a chance. From the first day that I met her, I have not been able to forget her. I praise no one above her. That is why I love her, love her, love her.
As by request for Evan Blatt there, the Turks. From February 1955, Gaynell Hodge on lead for that one on John Dolphin's Money label. Emily is the name of the tune. Now, most of the presses I've had of this record has surface noise. I don't know why. Maybe this press, they use recycled vinyl, which is the worst. They remelt down the vinyl, and it's really lousy. Sounds lousy when they repress it. When your needle gets into the groove there, it just sounds awful. I always have problems with some of the moderns also, with the grooves are so close together. I mean, again, it depends what they played the records on. A lot of times in the 50s, they would have 78s and 45s. They would use the same needle for both, or it was heavier than 3 grams. It's it's a crapshoot out there anyway. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. We continue all original vinyl all the time here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. And let's move into 1956 now. Now, earlier I opened up the show with an instrumental by Joe Houston. It was called Bobby Sox Ramble, that on Imperial. Now, 2 weeks ago, I opened up with Rock That Boogie, which came out on Jake Porter's Combo label. That was his 8th of 16 releases on the Combo label. But let's flip that instrumental over, because there is a vocal side on the intended A side. He did do some vocals on his releases, and this is one of them, and not an easy one to find either. This one's from February 56. It's a vocal by Joe Houston on Combo. It's called Baby.
Hey, pretty baby, you sure look good to me. Hey, pretty baby, you sure look good to me. Lord have mercy, child, tell me what made you sweet, baby. Hey, pretty baby, who is your lover, man? Hey, pretty baby, who is your lover, man? He better watch you real close, 'cause I'll steal you if I can. Hey, pretty baby, come go home with me. Hey, pretty baby, come go home with me. I'll make you happy, happy as a girl can be.
Now, too bad there wasn't a group on there, but that's still a cool R&B tune there by Mr. Joe Houston, February 1956. Song entitled Baby on Jake Porter's Combo record label. Let's continue here. We are in the year 1956 with a request for the Colonel for this group from Knoxville, Tennessee. They have 3 releases on Herman Lubinsky's Savoy record label. Let's give a listen to their third. It features Clifford Curry Jr. on lead. This is going out to the Colonel from April 1956 on Savoy, the 5 Pennies with My Heart Trembles.
Tremble,
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 tremble. My heart seems to tremble, when you pass me by. I wanted to tell you how I feel inside. My fingers are symbols as I kneel to pray that you could love me as I love you today. That you heart seems to tremble when you're by my side. I know you could love me if you only try. I know you could love me if you only try.
As by request, going out to the Colonel, the Five Pennies. The Five Pennies with Clifford Curry Jr. on lead, April 1956, My Heart Trembles. That's on Herman Lubinsky's Savoy record label out of Newark, New Jersey. Now, this group also recorded as the Four Jokers on the Sioux label and the Chimes on the Arrow label. They also backed up Freddie Scott, has a release on the Arrow label. You may know it. It's called Please Call. And the lead singer there, Clifford Curry, went on to have a successful solo career with some cool 1960s soul records. But that one there, a cool tune as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Got a request for listener Jim Barrow, classic New York City sound here, and a song that my aunt loved. She was never able to find the 45, but she purchased the Jubilee LP. It was called Rumble, and it had a number of her favorites on there. It was like a battle of the groups, but it included this group from Harlem, New York, as a going out by request to Jim Barrow. It's their second release on Danny Robinson's Holiday record label. It features Ernest Harrison on lead from November 1956. These are the Bop Chords on Holiday, with their tune called When I Woke Up This Morning.
When I woke up this morning, you were not there. As I searched for you, darling, I said a prayer. When I woke up this morning, you were not by my side. When I woke
November 1956 there. Those are the Bop Chords. The Bop Chords on the Holiday record label. When I woke up this morning, by request for Jim Barrow there. What a great tune that is. Ernest Harrison on lead. That's the second of three on the Holiday label. And I don't know which one. I know the hardest one to find by the Bop Chords is So Why. That's their last release on the Red Holiday label. Originals of this one have to be on the Black Holiday label. It was a big constant seller. Times Square Records, again, was selling it in 1961 with the flat red label, but a lot of variations on that one, but the original is the black label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. It's our 1950s and early 60s get-together from 10 to midnight right here on Top Shelf Oldies. Let's continue now with a flip side from a couple of weeks ago. I featured The Wheels. The Wheels out of Brooklyn, New York, recorded 3 for Joe Leibowitz's Premium Records. They were located in Linden, New Jersey. Now, I played their third. It was called I Can't Forget. And the flip side is pretty good in my opinion, so let's give it a spin here. Features Rudy Anderson on lead. We go to November of 1956. The Wheels on the Premium label. It's called How Could I Ever Leave You?
How could I leave you? How could I ever leave you? Whoa, 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 whoa. How could I ever leave you, darling? Tell me wherever would I find someone like you, love so true that I could call on mine. How could I ever leave you, darling? Tell me wherever would there be such warm embrace, such smiling face that's always there for me. Who else could do the things you do, to always try to please me? And who, when I'm feeling sad and blue, will hug and kiss and squeeze me. How could I ever leave you, darling? You know wherever I would go, I'd come right back. Yes, all my need. For darling, I love you so. Yes, darling, I love you so.
As Rudy Anderson on lead there with The Wheels on the Premium record label, November 1956. How Could I Ever Leave You is the name of that one. That is their third release on the Premium label. Now, Rudy Anderson, he was also the lead of the Federals on Deluxe, and also Rudy and the Wheels on the Curtis label. That's not an easy record to find either. I found that one at the 303 Drive-In in Orangeburg, New York. They used to have a drive-in it was a 303 Drive-In in Orangeburg, and I found that for 10 cents. It could have been in better condition, but Beggars can't be choosy. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. We continue here, and on the last 50s show, I played a request for George Tompkins by the Four Dots. They were out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was their second release on Woody Hinderling's Bullseye label. The song was called Peace of Mind, but that was the intended B-side. Let's give a spin to the intended A-side, which again features Fletcher Williams on lead. And listen closely to this sax break in this recording. It sounds to me like Jimmy Wright is moonlighting away from George Goldner's G complex on this record. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like him on sax to me. But anyway, this one from June of '56. These are the Four Dots on the Bullseye label. It's called Kiss Me, Sugar Plum.
Kiss me, sugar plum, till my heart gets numb. Kiss me, sugar plum, till my heart gets numb. Give your heart to me, happy I would be. Give your heart to me, happy I would be. You got me so excited, I can't say what I want to say. All I have to do is get a glimpse of you, and honey, I'm carried away. My heart's beating like a drum. Can't you hear it hum? My heart's beating like a drum. Can't you hear it hum?
I think that's Jimmy Wright. I think that's Jimmy Wright on sax. The Four Dots there. June 1956 on the Bullseye record label. Kiss Me Sugar Plum is the name of that one. Fletcher Williams, he is on lead for that one. And Fletcher Williams, he has some solo. I think I have him on RCA, and I have another one on the Bullseye record label. But anyway, as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, let's move into the year 1957 now with the Flares. Now, the original Flares that recorded on the Flare label, they broke up around June of 1955, and a group member, Cornell Gunter, he left in early 55 to join the Jackalax that recorded on the Tampa label, but then he reformed another group, and he called them the Ermines, and they had 4 releases on the Loma label, but then they changed their name again to the Flares, and they had 2 on ABC Paramount and 1 on Buck Ram's Antler label, and that's the 45 I'm featuring. But it was written by a group member, Kenneth Biley, and he is doing lead on this one. Cornell is not on lead. It's Kenneth Biley. He's on lead. Let's give it a spin from April 57. These are the Flares on Buck Ram's Antler label. Buck Ram, he managed the Platters. He owned the Antler label. The song is called I'd Climb the Hills and Mountains.
I'll climb the hills and mountains to see my baby. Yes, I did. To love when she patiently. I don't know how long my way will be, but the day my journey ends, then I can tell all my friends and down the hill we'll walk. We'll be together as one. I was lonely, but now my heart has been set free. I wait patiently. I don't know how long my way will do, but the day my journey ends, then I can tell all my friends and down the hill we'll go. But now my heart has been set free.
From April 1957. What a great tune that is by the Flares. The Flares on the Antler label. I'd Climb the Hills and Mountains. That features Kenneth Biley on lead. And that is a very cool tune as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Now, here's a 45 on the KRC record label. Now, when singer Lloyd Price came home from the service, he moved to Washington, D.C., and he formed this label, KRC Records, and there were only 11 releases on the label, and of which 6 were Lloyd's. 2 belonged to a gal by the name of Stella Johnson, one by Eddie Seacrest and another by Little Jimmy Merritt. Then there was one group record, which we have on turntable number 1 here, probably a local group to the Washington, D.C. area. They're called the King Bees, not the same group that recorded out in California on the Flip label, but I like this tune from September 1957. Give a listen to the King Bees on the KRC label. It's called Can't You Understand?
Can't you understand it? Darling, I love you. Oh, darling, my dear one. Can't you love me too? So, darling, my dear. Why can't you understand? Dreaming in the meadow, thinking in the land, wishing for you madly. Hope you feel the same. So, darling, my dear, why can't you understand? I'm always dreaming in the meadow. Always thinking in the lane.
Down Lover's Lane we'll stroll.
Always dreaming in the meadows. Why can't you do the same? When I'm thinking of you madly, wishing for you badly. Oh, darling, my dear one, why can't you understand? I'm always dreaming the meadow, always thinking the land.
Those are the King Bees. The King Bees from September 1957. It's on Lloyd Price's KRC record label along with the Lloyd Price Orchestra. And that was the B-side of the 45. Lovely Lies, I think, is the flip side. That was the side that they pushed on the radio. I think I saw the write-up in a Billboard or Cashbox, I forget. But Fred says there's another King Bees on the RCA record label. Is that a pop group? Oh, Garage Band. Okay. But Lloyd Price also would have his own label, Double L Records. That was also Lloyd Price's record label too. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. Here's another B-side from the last 50s edition as we go to Ben Smith's Extra label. This integrated group formed while attending Washington High School in Manhattan back in 1956. I played the A-side. It was called You and Me. Now let's give a spin to the B-side, which in my opinion is an excellent ballad. It features Fred Brunner on lead. This is early 1957. They're called The Unknowns. The Unknowns on the Extra label. It's called One More Chance. No, wrong side. I don't want to play that side. We got to play One More Chance. Sorry about that, folks. Here we go. Sorry.
Oh, now that you left me, you've broken my heart.
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Unknowns, early 1957 release. That's the flip side of You and Me. It's called One More Chance on Ben Smith's Extra record label. For you collectors out there, Evan, you want this record, you can get it for the 1962 press on the Shield label. Should go for about $8 to $10. I think that's what it went for some time ago. I don't know what it costs now, but at least it's more reasonable than the Extra 45. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, I never get tired of this next tune. This group out of Brooklyn, New York. I think I saw Warren mention that he loves this next tune coming up. as they earlier backed up Jimmy Witherspoon on the Atco record label, a song called My Girl Ivy, but this is their Lone 45 as we go to Paul Winley's Cyclone label for this one. Now, this is the intended B-side of the record, which I like better, by the way. It features Freddie Brown on lead. This one from the fall of 1957. They're called the Quins with two N's. The Quins on the Cyclone label. It's called Oh Starlight.
She's mine to be. There's no other girl for me. I'd still to have your light to shine on me. And seal this
Those are the Quins from the fall of 1957. Remember hearing that on Oldies radio in the 1970s. Oh, Starlight, Freddie Brown on lead. It's on the Cyclone record label. Now, the A-side is called Hong Kong, which is really just okay for me, but I didn't want to really play any kind of Chinese-related songs because of that coronavirus. So I wanted to stay away from that. We want to focus on nice music that it makes us happy. We do, and actually that song could make people happy too. But anyway, as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, we move into 1958 now with a request for Nat Papagallo. Listening in warm Naples, Florida. I wanted to hear this group from Yonkers, New York, which is very close to where your host Johnny G lives. Now, the group had this one release. It first came out on Zell Sanders' Scat label, which I do have. It's called I Love You, Darling. In March of 58 was released, but then she re-released it a little later in the year of 58 on her J&S record label. So I'm featuring the J&S press for Nat, and features Ronnie Baker on lead. This one from 1958. They're called the Bell Tones on the J&S label, Zell Sanders J&S label. It's called I Love You.
Do, 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 do.
straight from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, those are the Belltones. Belltones 1958 on the J&S record label. That plays pretty nice, Brian. That copy. The Belltones there going out to Nat Papagallo, Ronnie Baker on lead, I Love You. It's a different title, slightly different title. The scat title is I Love You, comma, Darling. Anyway, as we continue here, we are in the year 1958. Let's fill another request for listener Jim Barrow from North Carolina, I think, or is it South Carolina? I forget, but he wanted to hear this group from Queens, New York. They're called the Chanters, and he requested the group's biggest hit. The biggest hit was called No, 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 which was number 41 on the Billboard charts back in 1961, and that he was specific to that 61 release. But Sid Nathan released it initially on his deluxe label in October of 1958, and it's a slightly longer version than the re-release in 61 that became the hit, thanks to Times Square Records, of course. So, Jim, here is the Chanters with Larry Pendergrass on lead, but the original release and the longer song. It's from October 58 on deluxe, and it was Bud Johnson and the Chanters. Bud Johnson is the band leader, is the band orchestra leader on this. So these are the Chanters with Larry Pendergrass on lead going out to Jim. It's called No, No, No.
No, 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 don't kiss me anymore. No, 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 I told you once before. No, 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 don't kiss me anymore.
No means yes, yes, yes.
I love you, and no one else will do. My heart sings, don't ever say we're through. Please tell me our love was meant to be. Please be mine. You know I love you with all my heart. Please don't say that we will ever part. Your kisses thrill me when you are in my arms. Kiss me, darling, I'm lost in your charms. No, 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 don't kiss me anymore. No, 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 I told you once before. No, 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 don't kiss me anymore.
No means yes, yes, yes. Boom, 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 boom.
No, 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 don't kiss me anymore. No, 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 I told you once before. No, 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 don't kiss me anymore.
No means yes, yes, yes.
Those are the Chanters going out to Jim Barrow. Those are the Chanters from October 1958 with No, No, No on the deluxe record label. That is the first release. You see there was a little bit of that with the cowbell in there. They don't have that one in the 1961 release, but it became a hit because of the Times Square Records second time around in the early 1960s. And Evan, that is not the same group that recorded that earlier side that you mentioned, that's on the West Coast. That is a different group. You trying to catch Johnny G in an error? Is that what you're trying to do, Evan? Don't try to do that as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Got another request for George Tompkins for this group out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. They're known as the Rebels. They recorded for the King's X label, which for some odd reason, this record was pressed at the Monarch Pressing Plant in California, and there is a delta in my copy. Now, both sides were written by John Milton and Richard Sturgill, and George requested the intended B-side of the record. It's a great tune from September 58. Let's give a listen to the Rebels. It's expensive, too, on the King's X label. It's called In My Heart.
In my heart.
Those are the Rebels. Those are the Rebels out of Oklahoma City. That is a rare 45 on the King's X label. That is going out to George Tompkins, September 1958. In My Heart is the name of that one. I'm going to tell you what happened to that record. I had a lesser condition copy of that, and when eBay was a great place to buy at one time, somebody had this King's X record, this copy here, this nice copy, nice mint copy. He actually had a couple copies of the record. He was from Oklahoma City. So I don't know if he pulled it off or I won it in an auction. I think I won it in an auction for actually a pretty reasonable price. So he told me he had another copy, and I think he sold it to me privately, and he had two other records on the label, an instrumental, I think it was called Vodka, I think it was, which I have, and another record by some girl group, and I bought those two also, and they were kind of cheap. They were pretty cheap. You can get some, at one time on eBay, you can get some great buys, and the good thing about eBay was that people in different parts of the United States would come across these records in thrift shops and garage sales, and of course just from the area. Same thing happened with that Marquise on the Daysell label. I found a nice mint copy from somebody in Ohio that was selling it, but they're tough to come by now. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here. Let's continue here now. In the last 50 show, I played a request for Young Evan Blatt by the Capitals, a group out of Brooklyn, New York. It was their lone release on the Pet label. Now, Evan requested the ballad side. It was called Angel of Love. Now, let's flip it over. Give a listen to the flip side, which features Nathaniel Butch Epps on lead. This one from November 58. These are the Capitals on the Pet label. It's called Cause I Love You.
Boom, 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 boom.
Shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, 'cause I love you. Shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, oh. Shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-be-doo-wop, 'cause I love you so. Oh, you get me so excited, you thrill me through and through. It's just too divine with your lips close to mine, but I know it's 'cause I love you. Oh, you get me topsy-turvy, yes, what I say is true. And you're driving me crazy, I don't know what to do. But I know the reason, it's 'cause I love you. What a combination of lovers we will be. What an education, I'll teach you and you teach me. So let's go to the preacher, that's the thing to do. Oh, 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 oh. If I'm acting silly, don't wonder what to do. I'm sure you know the reason, yes dear, this is true. Oh, 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 it's 'cause I love you. What a combination of lovers we will be. What an education, I'll teach you and you teach me. So let's go to the preacher, that's the thing to do. Oh, 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 oh. If I'm acting silly, don't wonder what to do. I'm sure you know the reason, yes dear, this is true. Oh, it's 'cause I love you.
Out of Brooklyn, New York, those are the Capitals. The Capitals from November 1958. 'Cause I Love You came out on the Pet record label. Nathaniel Butch Epps is on lead for that one as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. We continue with requests. Another one for the Colonel, this group out of New York, guessing they are a Latino group. Now, the writers of this tune, Manuel Rivera and Lou Dean, wrote this tune. Let's give a listen to this group called The Initials. It's a killer ballad. It's going out to the Colonel from July of 59 now. We move into 59. The Initials on the D label. It's called Bells of Joy.
I heard the bells of joy ringing clear and free. I know that someday soon they will ring for me. I
Daryl, you're talking about this initial group? No, this initial group is from New York. It's on the D record label, July 1959, the initials with Bells of Joy. Now, there was a Philadelphia label that picked this up, Sherry Records, I think for the Pittsburgh area, I think, because they like this song in the Pittsburgh area. It was a big Pittsburgh record, but the original is on the D label. It's a styrene. You know how much I hate styrene 45s. I have actually a couple more coming up tonight, but those are the initials from July 59 going out to the Colonel. Let's continue here for this group from the Bronx, New York. They had 2 releases on Don Roby's Backbeat record label. One was called Tell Me Why. The other was called Dance Girl Dance, which did pretty well for them regionally, mainly on the East Coast, but they decided to try their luck with a major label, Capitol Records being that major label, hoping for a national hit, you would think, but unfortunately, it never really happened. But I do like both sides of this 45. Brings back a lot of memories from the Gus Gossard Show and listening to oldies radio here in New York City as a teenager, listening to the oldies music. They used to play this one quite a bit. Features Norman Fox on lead. They're Norman Fox and the Rob Roys from January 59 on the Capitol label, and their tune called Pizza Pie.
Well, we were standing on the sidewalk just admiring the view, and we thought that we would go downtown and find something to do. And we saw this place upon the corner and it looked real swell, so we opened the door and we went inside. This is what we yell now: pizza. Hey, pizza. Well, I got a chick I really dig. I'm gonna love her all of my life. I'm gonna take her home and marry her and keep her for my wife. And when the people come and ask me the question, I'm gonna tell them why. Cause she stands in the kitchen and makes me all those great big pizza pies. Now pizza. Hey, pizza. Well, the time went by and we had some kids, and they're the apple of my eye. And they grow growing big and strong and tall, and their heads right up to the sky. Now some may wonder why they're so healthy. This is my reply: 'cause they've been born and bred and always fed on great big pizza pies. Now pizza, hey pizza. Well, and now I'm getting old, hey brother, and I'm getting ready to die. But there's one request that I must make before I hit the sky. And that request is something no man in his right mind did not deny. 'Cause when they put me 6 feet under, I'm taking a great big pizza pie. Now pizza, hey pizza pie, hey pizza pie, pizza pie.
At least 50's on 5 on Sirius XM. At least they play that song. They do play that song. I don't even play the flip, though. Maybe Cool Bobby B plays the flip, but they don't play that side. Norman Fox and the Rob Roys, January 1959 release on the Capitol record label. That's the intended A-side. Pizza Pie is the name of that. Dream Girl, great ballad on the flip side. I think Norman just celebrated a birthday, February 28th. I think I saw it on Facebook. It was his birthday. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. We go back to Zell Sanders' J&S record label. We heard from the Belltones before, and J&S Records out of the Bronx, New York. This is a girl group out of Asbury Park, New Jersey. Well, let me check that. There is one male member of this group, so I guess we really can't call it a girl group, but the male member, his name is Kenneth Wilson, and he wrote both sides of this 45. Now, the other members were Eleanor Morris, Constance Morris and lead singer Virginia Davis. Collectively, they were known as the Endeavors. This is another hard 45 to find on the J&S record label. We go from 1959. Let's give it a listen here. The Endeavors on J&S. It's called Suffering with My Heart. The great sound of the Endeavors from 1959. Zell Sanders' J&S record label. Suffering with My Heart is the name of that one. That's a great tune, and not an easy 45 to find, and it's a great record there, I'd say, as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Here's the debut single for this singer from Washington, D.C., best known for his 1962 release on the Caprice label. Anybody know the song If You Gotta Make a Fool of Somebody? Know that song? But this is his first record from 1959. He was 17 years old. His real name was James Ray Raymond, but he recorded as James Ray. But on his first release, which I'm featuring, he was known as Little Jimmy Ray. And the title... wait... He was called Little Jimmy Ray due to the fact that he was only 5 foot tall. He was only 5 foot tall. And we go to George Goldner's Gallant record label. This tune written by Richard Barrett, although it's not mentioned on the label, but he did write the song. From September 59, give a listen to Little Jimmy Ray, a.k.a. James Ray, on the Gallant label. It's called Make Her Mine.
If I couldn't make a mind, I'd be so happy. Though I've never been in love before. If I could make a mind, I'd be so happy. Though I've never been in love before. But the girl won't notice me. No.
as Little Jimmy Ray, a.k.a. James Ray. From September 1959, that's his debut single. He was 17 years old. Make Her Mine is the name of that one on the Gallant record label. Of course, he had a big hit. If you gotta make a fool of somebody, I think Daryl typed in another one there that the George Harrison did. I Got My Mind Set on You. Definitely he did that one too, but unfortunately he was a drug addict and he died at a young age. He OD'd on drugs. Unfortunate though that happened to him, but he had some cool tunes as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. And on the last 50s edition, I played a request for a Warren Russell by the Titones on Florence Greenberg's Scepter label. Warren requested the intended B-side called The Movies. Let's give a listen to the intended A-side before I file this one back in the No Humidity Basin. Now, both sides written by the lead singer. His name is Herbert Titus. Herbert Titus on lead here from November 59. They're called the Titones. It's on the White Scepter label. It's called Symbol of Love.
The symbol of love is a flower, the flower of a man. Our heart gives to you to make you understand that I care for you. Want you to know I'll always love you if you give me a chance to prove that our romance is true, my dear. She is the idol of dreams. Say that you care for me, darling. I need you. I'm in love. The symbol of love is a flower, the flower of a man. Our heart gives to you to make you understand that I care for you.
Whoa, you see, boy, you see that? That's not a cool ending. No, it is not. That's not a cool ending, unfortunately. That's the A-side, though. The Titones there, November 1959. Symbol of Love on Florence Greenberg's Scepter record label. Herbert Titus, he's on lead. He also wrote the tune. Scepter re-released this on its Wand label in 1960. As we move on here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, up next, a trio from Philadelphia, PA. They were Anthony, Rosemarie, and Vincent Ferrara. And in 1957, they had an EP on RCA Records called Teenagers Dance to the Hoppadoo, featuring the Kids. And in 1957, they were 13, 14, and 12, respectively. But then, in 1959, 2 years older, they recorded two on the Philadelphia-based Best label as the Dial Tones. Now let's give a listen to their first, and it features 16-year-old Rosemarie Ferrara on lead. This one from 1959, the Dial Tones on Best. It's called Rock All Night.
Well, it's Saturday night, I'm going to the dance. Well, it's Saturday night, I'm going to the dance. We go to rock tonight and roll tomorrow night. Well, it's Saturday night, I'm late for the
Out of Philadelphia, PA, they're called the Dial Tones, 1959. That's a cool rocking type of tune there. The Dial Tones. Actually, I needed a fast record is what I did. Rock All Night is the name of that one. Came out on the Best record label. 16-year-olds. They're 2 years older. Rosemarie Ferrara on lead. Excuse me, folks, as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Up next, a request for George Tompkins. He wants to send this one out to Matey Campoy. I would say hello to Matey Campoy. Hope she's doing well. I haven't heard from her in a while. But to Matey, let me know if you tune into the show, if you like this tune. George sending it out to you. It's a rare 45 on the World Pacific record label, which is out of Hollywood, California. But it's possible that they are a West Coast group, but maybe not. This group, I think, might be out of Chicago, as the writer of the song, his name is Willie Crowley, and he was a member of a Chicago group called the Belvederes that recorded for the Dot label and also the Trend label. And who knows, both sides of this are great in my opinion. So this one going out to George. She wants to send it to Matey from September 59. Give a listen to the Uniques. It's on World Pacific. It's called That's Love.
That's love. That's love. That wonderful feeling. That's love. That's love. That sends your heart reeling. That's love. That's love. Oh, what you do to me. Really is love. That's love. That wonderful feeling, that's love. That's love. That sends your heart reeling, that's love. That's love. Oh, what you do to me. Don't tell me, my darling. That wonderful feeling, that's love. That sends your heart reeling, that's love. That's love. Oh, what you do to me, that's love.
That group called the Uniques. Yes, a very common name, Daryl. The Uniques. September 1959, That's Love came out on the World Pacific record label. I think although it sounds like a West Coast group, but it could be a Chicago group there, because there was a Uniques group that recorded in Chicago. Well, at Belvederes, I think some of the members here, I was trying to do a little bit more research on this. But George wants to send that one out to Matey Campoy. It's a styrene press. I hate styrene 45s. Yes, I do. So let's continue here. Here's another request for the Colonel. The group is out of Pittsburgh, PA. Now, ex-Del Vikings member Clarence Quick was the bass for this group. Now, the song was written by the first tenor of the group. His name is Watsy Lumberger, who is on dual lead here, together with Harold Allen. Dual leads on this release. They're called the Eastmen. It's going out to the Colonel. We go to Mercury Records for this one. March 59, the Eastmen on Mercury. It's called Lover Come Home.
Lover, come home. Lover,
I'm in a daze, walking around, hoping, praying that you'll come back to me. You've gone, all I can say are these three small words, love. Come home. Please, come home.
Lover, come home.
Every day, calling you every day. What can I do every day? Calling you home, lover, come home.
That's March 1959 release there on the Mercury record label there. What a cool tune that is. Going out to the Colonel, the Eastmen with their tune called Lover Come Home. They have another release also, 1960 release on the Glow label. I think I have that. I have to go check that one out, see how good that one is. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. And let's move into 1960 now with a flip side from 2 weeks ago, as I featured the B-side of this 45 on the Royce label out of Central City, Kentucky. The group is from Owensboro, Kentucky. They were called the Five Embers. Played the ballad side called My Fragile Heart, featured Charles Brown on lead. And the A-side features Charles' brother. His name is Richard Brown. He's doing lead. This is the up-tempo side from March 1960. The Five Embers on Royce with the A-side. It's called I'm Free.
Don't hang around my door no more. You don't love me now, I see. I won't meet you at the heart no more, because you made a fool of me. Don't hang around my door no more. You took all your love from me. I won't meet you at the heart no more. I'm lonely but I'm free. Well, I'm lonely, 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 lonely as can be. But since you went and left me, I've been free, free as the breeze. Don't hang around my door no more. You took all your love from me. I won't meet you at the hop no more, because you made a fool of me. I'm free, so free. Well, I'm lonely, 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 lonely as can be. But since you went and left me, I've been free, free as the breeze. Don't hang around my door no more. You don't love me now, I see. I won't meet you at the heart no more, because you made a fool of me. Don't hang around my door no more. You took all your love from me. I won't meet you at the heart no more. I'm lonely but I'm free. But I'm lonely, 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 lonely as can be. But since you went and left me, I've been free, free as the breeze. Don't hang around my door no more. You don't love me now, I see. I won't meet you at the heart no more, because you made a fool of me. I'm free, so free.
That sounds like another record. What record is running through my mind for that tune there by the Five, where'd I lose my place? By the Five Embers there, March 1960. That's the intended A-side, I'm Free. It's on the Royce label. Richard Brown on lead for that one. Let's continue. Here's a request for Nat Papagallo. Is probably going to tune in on the archive, but this group is out of Syracuse, New York. It's a female lead with male backing, Jan Parola. That's her name. She teamed up with a group called the Teen Tones, which had their own release back in 1958 on the Dandy Dan label. Actually, it's a pretty hard record to find on Dandy Dan, but the group got together and became Little Jan and the Radiants with their first release called If You Love Me that came out on the Vin record label. Now, this was their second release, which came out on the Clock label. It came out as Jan and the Radiants. It's Jan Parola on lead. This is going out to Nat from August 1960. Jan and the Radiants on the Clock label. Their rendition of the tune Now is the Hour.
Now is the hour.
Now is the hour when we must say goodbye. Soon you'll be sailing far across the sea. While you're away, oh then remember me. When you return, you'll find me waiting, dear. Now is the hour when we must say goodbye. When you return, you'll find me waiting,
Wow, it's going out to Nat Papagallo. I like that one. I like that side better than If You Love Me, August 1960. Jan and the Radiants on the Clock record label. Now is the Hour. That record was done early in the 40s, I think. It was done earlier, much earlier. That's somebody else recorded that, but that's Jan Parola on lead by request, going out to Nat Papagallo. He was tuned in to the show because Nat also listens on the archive, as many do. I have a lot of people that go to the archive. You can go to the archive on YouTube anytime at all. You can also go to my webpage, vinyltreasures.net. You can stream or download the shows there. But we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. This group from the Bronx, New York, they're next. Now, according to Freddie Gonzalez, he had the disco file for many, many years. It's a pretty cool tool to use to date a lot of the records. He's not correct on everything, but the majority of the dates are correct. You got to watch out the dates where he doesn't have the month, because sometimes some of those, that's like, 70% correct. Anyway, I don't want to critique Ferdy, but he said that this was the first Puerto Rican vocal group in this genre of music, I guess in vocal group harmony, to appear on any national chart. And I guess he was talking about their debut single from 1959 on the Hollywood label. It did chart on Billboard, that song called Rockin' in the Jungle. But here's one on Morty Craft's Warwick label, along with Sammy Lowe and the orchestra, written by the lead singer Charlie Girona. He wrote the tune. He is on lead. This one from December 1960. These are the Eternals on Warwick, and their tune is called Today.
Today
December 1960 release for the Eternals. The Eternals, they do Babaloo's Wedding Day. They do Rockin' in the Jungle. That's a song called Today. It's on the Warwick record label. Charlie Girona on lead. It's Almost Is the Next Day, where we're going to turn our clocks forward. You're going to lose an hour's sleep tonight. I need all the sleep I can get, that is for sure. But at around 2 a.m., I think it's 2 a.m., the clocks go forward. As we continue here on Vinyl Treasure, almost Vinyl Treasure Overtime, let's send this next one out to George Tompkins. I know he loves this group out of San Bernardino, California, known as the Pentagons. They had releases on Fleet International, on the Donna label, Jamie Records, etc. But on this 45, they were named the Shields by record mogul George Mottola. And he also wrote this tune, and it's on Mottola's label Transcontinental. I think this also came out on the Falcon label. I showed you guys in the video chat the other release on the Falcon label, but it features Joe Jones on lead. We send this one out to George Tompkins. 1960, the Shields, aka the Pentagons, on Transcontinental. It's called You'll Be Coming Home Soon.
Wish on a star way up in the sky, wishing, oh how I'm wishing you'll be coming home soon. Alone in my room, gazing at the moon, wishing that you would call and say you'll be coming home soon. I go to the chapel and pray for your safe return. Each night I light a candle, my love will forever burn. I'm watching the clock that hangs on the wall, wishing that time will change your mind and you'll be coming home soon. La, 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 la. Oh, oh, la, la. Riva, 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 la. Come on, come on.
Send that one out to George Tompkins. Those are the Shields, a.k.a. the Pentagons' 1960 release with Joe Jones on lead. You'll Be Coming Home Soon. Featured it on the Transcontinental record label. It also came out on the Falcon label. West Coast labels, probably owned by George Mottola. It was being kind of cunning there and smart to change the name to the Shields, probably because people might have recognized that they were the You Cheated Shields, but they were not. They were not. They're really the Pentagons. As we are now in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, and the next two 45s are flip sides from a couple weeks ago as we stay out in the West Coast. And a young listener, Evan, requested the Galahads. They were from the Seattle, Washington area. I played the B-side to their second release on Bob Keene's Delphi label. The song was called Be Fair. Now, listener Daryl Letts requested the intended A-side, which charted number 21 on WOKY in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Brian, you know that station, WOKY? It features Jimmy Pipkin on lead. This one from September 1960. Here are the Galahads on Delphi with I'm Without a Girlfriend. Those are the Galahads by request for Daryl Letts in our YouTube chat room. That was their follow-up to Lonely Guy. That song called I'm Without a Girlfriend. The Galahads, September 1960, on the Delphi record label. Jimmy Pipkin on lead for that one. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, we got a twin spin for the Galahads. Now, 2 weeks ago, I played Gone, also requested by Young Evan, which was a resung version on the Rendezvous label. Initially came out in November of '59 on the Night Owl label. I think I played a little bit of that original record, but let's give a spin to the intended A-side of that Rendezvous release, and it's a cover song of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, a song they did, and this time the Galahads have a female lead. Her name is Betty Martin. Betty Martin here on lead with the Galahads from June '61 on the Rendezvous label, and their rendition of the tune Why Do Fools Fall in Love?
Why do fools fall in love? Why do birds sing so gay?
Boy, does the rain fall from up
dang, dang. Pop, pop, bang, 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 walla, 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 dang, dang, dang. Pop, pop, bang, 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 walla, 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 dang, dang, dang. Why do they fall in
love? Why do fools fall in love?
Cover tunes here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Galahads. June 1961, the female lead there, Betty Martin, on lead with Why Do Fools Fall in Love, the Frankie Lyman tune on the Rendezvous label. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. We are in the year 1961. Here's another request for the Colonel. And it's not an easy record to find either as we head to Jacksonville, Mississippi for this 45. This group formed while attending Jim Hill High School, and they had this release on Arnold Atkins' Copa label. It features Tommy Hardin on lead. This is going out to the Colonel from September 61, the Carvettes, Carvettes. The Carvettes on the Copa label. It's called A Lover's Prayer.
This prayer is a special prayer. It's for those who are in love. It has all of the wonderful things that come from heaven above.
Well, the night is dark and the sky is blue. I have hope for many others, but I love just you. I pray, I love it, for you. On my bending knees, I pray these few kind words, hoping and praying that they will be heard. I pray, love
And now that I have her, I'm standing on the high stair. Yes, it was I who made this possible, but alone with the lover's prayer.
I pray, when I was lonesome for you, every day I pray, on my bending knees for you. Tell me why I pray,
Going out to the Colonel there, September 1961, the Carvettes on the Copa label, A Lover's Prayer, Tommy Hardin on lead. That's not an easy record to find. I remember when I bought that, Barry Salt sold me that. He drove all the way, he drove from the, actually it wasn't that far, from on the Bronx River Parkway to meet me at my place of work. At my place of work when I was working in White Plains. I was working in the Gateway building, so he drove up, and it was that record. It was a whole bunch of records. It was the Satin Tones, Angel, the all mint copies was a big transaction that day, few thousands of dollars, I think, of records. But I have done a couple of transactions at my work, believe it or not. And when I worked for Sony in Lyndhurst, I used to sneak out of the building and I used to meet them in the in the parking lot. You had to bring cash that day, and they would come up, and I would tell the guard, I'm going out to do a transaction. He's like, what kind of transaction? I said, they're records. So they knew I was a big record collector, but Barry sold me that one. But anyway, those are the Corvettes. They also backed up a singer by the name of Sam Baker on the Copa label, another rare record on that label called So Long. I wish I had it in as good a shape as that release. Johnny G here. We are in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. We go back to the Bronx, New York for this group you all know. Began their career back in 1961 on Trade Martin's Rome label. Their debut single was a cover of the Harptones tune Life Is But a Dream. They followed it up by with this tune, which was another cover. This was first done by Tony Mora and the Duels on the Duel label, and this charted regionally. This was number 39 on WNDR in Syracuse, New York. It features Larry Chance on lead from July 61. Here are the Earls on the Rome label with their rendition of the tune Looking for My Baby.
Look, look, looking for my baby. Look, look, looking for my baby. Looking for my baby, looking for my baby.
I'm looking for my baby. Where can she be? Whoa, someone here might be. Send me back to me.
Looking for my baby, looking for my baby.
My baby's gonna let me all alone and blue. Whoa, she's gotten someone new. Yeah, yeah, tell me what did I do?
Baby, look for my baby.
I'm looking for my baby. Oh, where can she be? Oh, darling, hear my plea. Come on back to me. I'm looking for my baby. Where can she be? Someone hear my plea. Send her back to me.
That's the second release on the Rome label for Larry Chance and the Earls, July 1961. Looking for My Baby is the name of that one. I saw Larry Chance not too long ago at the Elmsford Evening Dinner Theater with Barbara. I saw the Earls that did a great job, and I saw Vito Pacone and the Elegance, so we'll talk about when I get to a record by him as we continue here on Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Now, in the last 50s edition, I played the hardest 45 to find by this Inglewood, New Jersey group. They were called the Rivieras, and the side I featured was called Refrigerator. Now, let's give a spin to the flip side before I file it back down in the No Humidity Basement. It features Homer Dunn on lead. This is the hardest record by this group on Coed Records. It's from August 61, the Rivieras with their tune called El Dorado.
El Dorado, you be walking your El Dorado.
Everybody's searching for that special land of gold, but I find this dreamland every time it's you I hold. El Dorado, oh, oh, golden El Dorado. I have found the answer to my prayers from above. For I find my fortune in the treasure of your love, El Dorado. Oh, oh. Golden El Dorado. Golden El Dorado. Because your eyes are the jewels that shine. Your lips are rubies so rare. And when we kiss and you say you're mine, I have a wonderland beyond compare. To be let the others search for all their dreams beyond the blue. I have found my Shangri-La in loving only you, El Dorado. Oh, you're my El Dorado. You're my El Dorado. I have a wonderland beyond compare. To be let the others search for all their dreams beyond the blue. I have found my Shangri-La in loving only you, El Dorado. Oh, oh, you're my El Dorado. To be El Dorado. But if it El Dorado. To be
That's the hardest 45 to find by the Rivieras on the Co-Ed record label. From August 61, Homer Dunn on lead. El Dorado is the name of that one, the flip side of Refrigerator. We are in Vinyl Treasure overtime as we continue here. Have another twin spin. This time, a twin spin on Ben Smith's Tar X record label. Now, Ben also, he owned the Extra label. I featured a rare 45 by the Unknowns in the beginning of the show or earlier in the show, but these next two are on the Tar X label. They're not easy to find by any means, so let's send this twin spin out to George Tompkins. Don't know if they're the same group, but they are the Ensenators, followed up by the Ensenadas. So very similar. Maybe they are the same group. They sound like different leads, though. So up first is the Ensenators, Enenators. This is from September of 1962. It's written by Herb Baxter. He's also on lead. It mentions that on the label. This is on Tar X Records, the Ensenators with Just Like Before.
I've known of love before, two lips that I adore. I've known of love before. Oh, our love will live evermore, and my heart bursts like before, just like before. I know my heart is not a plaything, although it is really like a toy. For once it was a young and gay thing, and really not a plaything to be destroyed. I've known of a warm embrace, caress your tender face. I've known of a small desire to start a
Yes, September 62, the Ensenadors with the T-O-R-S. It's on the Tarex record label, a song entitled Just Like Before. Herb Baxter on lead. Let's have a twin spin I mentioned on Tarex Records. This is from late 62. We went from Ensenadors to Ensenadas, D-A-S. This is also on Tarex. I don't think it's the same lead, Herb Baxter, but you can judge for yourself. Let's give it a spin. We're going to send this one out to George Tompkins, the Ensenadas on Tarex. It's called Love, I Beg of You. That's a twin spin on the Tarex record label, the Ensenadas. Ensenadas, a late 1962 release. Love, I Beg of You is the name of that one. They are not cheapo records. They're hard to find. Let's continue with a great girl group sound out of 1962. Now, these gals, they're out of Detroit, Michigan, started recording in 1959 on the Twirl label, which was then picked up by Cameo Records. The lead singer, her real name is Elma Holman, but we know her as Bobby Smith. This is her third of 5 releases on the Big Top label, and you can call this song a female cover of the Royal Jokers tune, She's Mine All Mine, on the Atco label from 56. This one from January 62 on Big Top Records. Give a listen to Bobby Smith and the Dream Girls with their tune called Mine All Mine.
That was
January 62 release there for Bobby Smith and the Dream Girls on the Big Top label, Mine All Mine. And that is a cool tune. They also have releases on the Metro label as the Dream Girls. And they got some cool tunes on the Big Top label as we continue here. And listener Fred Clemens can maybe shed some more light on this next release, requested by the Colonel, as it's on the Amy label. By a group called the Companions with the Irv Spice Orchestra. Now, Irv owned the Mohawk label. I think Fred is the guy who knows all about the Mohawk label because that's a label that he does run. I think he said he's missing one record on that label, I think he told me. But he mentions on 45 Cat that both sides of this record were released were leased from Irving Spice's Mohawk Records, and that the group was credited to the gay notes on the master tape boxes. Did you see that, Fred, or did you read that somewhere? So this is a request going out to the Colonel from July 62. These are the Companions on Amy with How Could You?
How could you ever break my heart? How could you ever say that we're through? I thought our love would last, but that was in the past. Sometimes I wonder, why did we part? And now it's wrong and broken my heart. But it's all over, and darling, I was a fool. Sometimes I wonder, why did we part? Now you're gone and broken my heart. But it's all over, and darling, I was a fool. How could you
As going out to the Colonel, that's a great tune by the Companions, July 1962 on the Amy label. How Could You is the name of that one, Irv Spice Orchestra, so there must be some association with this group and the Mohawk label. Anyway, as we continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, got a few more to go here. Up next, a request for Nat Papagallo, requested this group from Staten Island, New York, that you all know. They had a big hit in 1958, which is as old as your host, Johnny G, because The Day I Was Born, Little Star was the #1 hit in my area when I was born, that September 3rd of 58. This came out on the Apt label, but lots of releases on many different labels talking about the elegance. And here's one on the Lori label. It features Vito Pacone on lead, requested by Nat. It's spelled differently, Elegantes. Elegantes. I don't know how you would say that, but it's the elegance here. Going out to Nat. Believe it or not, this is from June of 65 on the Lori label. Vito Pacone and the Elegance with their tune called Wake Up.
Whoa. Whoa. see the one who loves you. I wanna be more than a friend to you. I wanna love you your whole life through. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I wanna say now, say that you are mine. Come on, baby, give your love to me. Wake up and see the one who loves you. Wake up and see the one who loves you. Chapalapa, 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 chapalapa. I wanna be more than a friend to you. I wanna love you your whole life through. Oh, oh, oh. And I say, say that you are mine. Come on, baby, give your love to me. Wake up and see the one who loves you. Wake up and see the one who loves you. Chapalapa, chapalapa, oh,
By request for I was going to say for Vito and the Elegance, for Nat Papagallo, the Vito Picone and the Elegance, June 1965. It's on the Laurie label, their tune called Wake Up. And not too long ago, I mentioned before, I saw Larry Chance and the Earls and Vito Picone and the Elegance at that Elmsford Evening Dinner Theater. And Vito will be celebrating a birthday soon, I think on March 20th. He'll be 79 years old, and not easy at that age to hit those notes. And too bad he didn't do that one there in the night that I saw him perform. But I think it's hard for him to get up to that level in his voice, because a lot of the songs that they did that night were like novelty tunes. I think the only song that he did with the Elegance was Little Star. I mean, he could have tried Getting Dizzy. I think he could have got away with that, but I don't think he can really hit those notes anymore, which is why he can't perform a lot of his other ballads when he's out there performing. But anyway, great person Vito Picone. As we continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime for a few more releases here, we go back to Queens, New York with another B-side from the last 50s and early 60s show. The group is The Roommates. Now, Evan Blatt requested the A-side of this, their version of Sunday Kind of Love. Now, listener Daryl Letts requested the B-side, which is also another cover of a pop standard song dating back to 1943. But let's give a listen to The Roommates version of this with Steve Suskind on lead. This is going out to Daryl from October 62. The Roommates on the Cameo label with their rendition of the tune A Lovely Way to Spend an Evening.
This is a lovely way to spend an
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Overtime Show. That one there going out to Daryl Letts. The Roommates version of A Lovely Way to Spend an Evening came out on Cameo Records, October 1962 release. Let's go for three more 45s here. It's a request here for Evan Blatt as we head out to the West Coast for James Washington Lee, who is really Morris Chestnut, who wrote this song. And he's being backed up by a group called The Vows. They are the same Vows that recorded the tune I Want a Chance on the Marquee record label. So this is by request for Evan from July 62, James Washington Lee on the L&M label. It's called I Need Somebody.
I need somebody to hold me. Could be you, could be you. I need somebody to kiss me goodnight. Is it you, is it you? I just need someone to hold me tight. I need someone to kiss goodnight. Oh yes, who'll it be? Somebody to hold my hand. I need somebody. You could be you. Yes, it could. I need somebody to understand. Is it you? Is it you? I gotta have someone to hold my hand. I need someone that will understand. Oh yes, who will it be? Every hour, every minute goes by. I need someone. I need someone to love me. I pray every night, my darling, for the good God to send me someone from up above. Someone who's gonna hold my hand. Yes, I could be you, could be you. And I need someone that will understand me. Now. Is it you? Is it you? I gotta have someone to hold my hand. I need someone that will understand. Oh yes, who will it be? Somebody to hold me tight. Could be you, could be you. I need somebody to kiss me goodnight.
That's by request for Evan Blatt, James Washington Lee, a.k.a. Morris Chestnut. July 1962 release on the L&M record label. I Need Somebody is the name of that one. The Vows backing him up on that one. The Vows do that cool tune, I Want a Chance, on the Marquee label. Now, Morris Chestnut, he's the father of actor Morris Chestnut Jr. Now, Morris Sr. also sang with the OJs for a short time. Then he was a member of the Vowels on the Libam label, and the Soundmasters on the Juliet label, and the Attractions on the Renfro Bell label. And that Soundmasters and Hard Soul record to find. Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Two more 45s to go before we sign off here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. And here's a group that started back in 1958. They recorded two for the Mercury label. Then they had a release on the Strand label in 59. And finally, a cool two-sided release in 1963. And actually, I was looking for an up-tempo side because I like the flip of this better, but I do like the A-side here. They're called the Miller Brothers. The Miller Brothers here from February 63, and it's a history lesson for us as we go back to the co-ed label, the Miller Brothers, with their tune called Lawrence Was His Name.
measuring sand, there came a stranger. With a torch of freedom, he planned to light a flame. British born and British bred, but in this land of far, to the people he led, he was their savior. Oh, a guiding star. Lost by the name, lost by the name. A man with a plan to set the people free. To set the people free. To set the people free. 50 men on camels, they all went with the stranger. And he promised that Akaba would fall. That was his aim. 20 days of desert thirst and not one water well. But though they fought and they cursed, led by the stranger, Akaba fell. Lost by the name, lost by the name. A man with a plan to set the people free. Set the people free. To set the people free. Heroes live and heroes die, but lost now is gone. But wherever they fly, the flags of freedom, his name lives on. Lost was the name and he set the people free. Lost was the name and he set the people free. Lost was the name and he.
February 1963, released there for the Miller Brothers. The Miller Brothers on the co-ed label. That's the intended A-side. Lawrence was his name, and that's a pretty cool tune, but I like the B-side better. I will play that next Saturday night. But that's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to original vinyl 45s out of my collection. You want to get in touch with me, please send me an email, vinyltreasures@aol.com. And I love to receive emails and requests from you, the listeners. You can also go to my YouTube page and click subscribe. It's pretty nice. If you subscribe, you'll get notifications in your email. You have to be registered with YouTube to subscribe and actually come into the chat room there. So if you want to do that, that'd be great. You'll get notifications. You can go to my website, vinyltreasures.net. I also post the show there. You can stream or download the show there. Sometimes I get copyright issues, although I won my battle with them on the last one, so they allowed my video to play. I don't know if they allowed it everywhere, but they saw that they were wrong and I was right. But anyway, that's going to do it for tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I enjoy playing my 45s for you, the Top Shelf Oldies and YouTube listeners. We're going to close the show tonight out of Los Angeles, California on Leon Renee's Class label. I like this song a lot. It's just missing a vocal group, unfortunately, but it's still a good tune. This artist, his name is Richie Dixon, and he wrote this tune. He has later releases on the Keyman label, actually a nice soul tune on Keyman, K-Ham, and also Jubilee Records, but this is on the Class label, and it's our closer tonight from April 1963, Richie Dixon on Class. It's called You Broke My Heart. Hopefully I did not break any of your pocketbooks tonight. If any of you collectors out there are looking for these original records, sometimes they're impossible to find, and they're very expensive once you find them, especially in good condition. But anyway, I enjoy sharing them with you, the listeners. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Charlene, again, for all your help. And I will see you here next Saturday. Tune in tomorrow evening for my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show. It all begins at 9 p.m. Cool 60s original vinyl also that Dave features. You got 2 turntables now, so tune in to Dave tomorrow night starting at 9 p.m., 9 to midnight. He's a happy camper because the Rutgers basketball men's team, they won. So we'll say congratulations to Dave on that. But again, thank you again so much for tuning in. Everybody have a safe and happy week. I'll see you here next Saturday on the Vinyl Treasure Show on Top Shelf Oldies. Just want to say, everybody, so long.
Oh, oh, you done me but you know I'm a fool, and I'll fall in love no matter what. I played a losing game. I tried to love you. I should have known you'd never be true, but you know I'm a fool, and I'll fall in love no matter what. I trusted in you. I thought that you were true, but it turned out all wrong. Oh, why couldn't I see that you didn't love me, that you were just leading me on? Oh, you broke my heart. You said goodbye. You walked out on me. That's why I cry. But you know I'm a fool, and I'll fall in love no matter
Okay, folks, that's it. That's a good record, I'd say. I agree with Andrew there. Nice tune out of California. Somebody by the name of E. Torres owned this record. You Broke My Heart, Richie Dixon. Actually, there's a good soul tune he does on the Keyman label. Dave the Rave, you got to check that one out. By Richie Dixon on Class from April 1963. Thanks for sticking around, folks. I will see you next Saturday here. I am beat. Gonna go relax. And again, hungry too. But I'll see you next week right here on Top Shelf Oldies. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next Saturday at 10 p.m. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.